Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Game Haus. People are on that esports grind. They want to put in the time and the effort to be top tier, to be noticed on Twitch, to be seen on social media, to be the professional esports athlete. Along that path, one of the important things to balance in our lives as human beings, not just gamers and not just somebody who is in this world trying to make their way, but how do we balance the time on screen where we're practicing and we're grinding and we're competing and we're learning with those in our lives who support us in what we do and who we are? How does a gamer, I guess the base question is, how does somebody who is a professional, how do they have a relationship? How does that work? How does that fit? Because we seem to have this picture that's in our brain that if you're not eating and sleeping and showering at least every third day, then you're in front of your screen and you're always grinding and you're always trying to be better and be better. But there's definitely something to be said for getting away, for having somebody in your life who loves you and supports you. And how do you make that work? And so I found somebody on Twitter, and she's with me right now, and we're going to talk about that because I think it's a really interesting conversation to have. Is that how do you make that work? How do you deal with that? How do you have a relationship, be an awesome esports athlete? How do you fit all that into your schedule? So I have with me today a young lady. You see her picture on the screen right there. I'm going to have her introduce herself, and she's going to tell us a little bit about who she is and how she makes the whole thing work, and then we'll go from there. So go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ginail Carter, or I'm known as Cuddle Core. I am a professional esports player for Equinox Gaming. I've been competing in Tekken 7 for about 6 years. Recently, I started to travel a lot thanks to my amazing team, and so I'm competing in the Tekken World Tour and a chance to be in the top 19 or top 20 to compete at the finals at the end of the year.
Very nice. And I think it's important for people to know that you've been doing this for 6 years. You have a list of accomplishments, and I encourage everybody, go on Twitter at Cuddle Core, at Cuddle_Core on Twitter, and you can see in her description the list of accomplishments. So 2018, she placed 17th at Evo. 17th. That's out of 1,544 competitors. So she's not a slacker. I want everyone to understand that. Is that there's a big difference between somebody who spends a lot of time online grinding and maybe they're streaming a little with somebody who's further along in the journey. And that's one of the reasons that I want to have this conversation with you, is that you are an accomplished person. To place top 20 and compete on the Tekken World Tour is awesome. It's fantastic. It shows your skill and your dedication. So how do you fit all that into your life? You have the time that you have to practice. You have the time you have to compete. You have your obligations to your team and your org, and then you have a life. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So, when I first signed with the team and I was given the chance to travel 100 times more than I ever have, I think originally I was I was a little too absorbed with it. I really was I would practice a lot. I would stream for way too long of hours, maybe 6 to 8 hours. I would train and train and train. But the thing was, my brain couldn't absorb all that training because I was always just doing it for these long hours looking at the screen. Sometimes I didn't get away from the actual screen, and not as much as I should have. So, because I'm also an artist too, so I had to actually, and I do a lot of my work on screens, so I had to kind of take a step back at one point and realize something. I'm like, I need to start making time for some other things, just taking breaks, sometimes just resting, streaming for shorter amounts of time, streaming other games, going out more, working it's just spending time going like traveling, not just to compete. I had to actually start making a schedule for myself because I can fit that those other things I want to do. I can fit that into my schedule, but I had to actually put the time in, like actually write it in, so I didn't find myself just over practicing because that will burn you out. And I've seen it happen to other players, and I think it kind of happened to me at one point too.
Okay. So now you told me before we started recording this. You told me that you signed with the org. You signed with the org in September of 2018. So you finish. You play 17th at Evo. Which is fantastic. You're basically top 10% in that. There are only 16 players in that tournament who are better than you, and that's freaking awesome. So you come off of that, and then you get this phone call, you get this email, you get this text from this org, and you're like, you start talking. What's the conversation that you have with your significant other when you say, hey, I got this org that wants to sign me, and here's the contract details, and here's what's going to happen, and here's the stuff that I have to do for them. So sort of talk to me about that for a minute.
Well, the thing is, with a lot of the things that I do, when I got that the proposal from Equinox, I remember telling my boyfriend, and he was very excited, but I wasn't really allowed to kind of show my contract to other people.
Right.
And a lot of the things that I do, I don't really, like esports wise, I know he either sees it on Twitter, or I tell him about it, or I just do it on my own. But I think it has kind of, he was really excited for me, but I think it also did kind of change when I could see him, because he lives in a whole other state. He lives in New York.
Okay.
So it was kind of one of those things, like, because I travel a lot now I have to make time to see him as well, or else I won't be able to see him at all during the month. And it definitely has changed that a bit.
Okay. So you had the time when you weren't with an org, but you were definitely grinding and getting better. And then you get this offer from the org, and your boyfriend's like thrilled. He's supportive, which is excellent. I love hearing that. I love hearing people say my significant other is extremely supportive of what I do, and he's fantastic, and he loves me and supports me, and I love hearing that, because there's this narrative that people don't want their others to be successful, and it's like no, I want everybody to be successful, and I'm glad that you have somebody in your life who supports you like this. So you have the time with them, and then all of a sudden things change, and you've only been with them now. I mean, what, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. You've been with them for about 8 months. So in that 8-month period of time, how have things changed?
Just for my relationship, or just my life overall?
Well, so both, because your life overall, your life overall directly affects your relationship. So,
very true. Well, after I signed with them, and if being under them for 8 months, it definitely has changed a lot. And the fact that, I've gotten a lot of opportunities. Sometimes I'll travel way more than I thought I would. I'm supposed to go to a tournament at the end of every month. Sometimes I'll have to travel in the middle of the month, because maybe I have to speak for something, or maybe I get invited to compete somewhere, or people want to do interviews, and it's kind of just like I'm getting all this exposure, and at the same time all this is happening, my boyfriend, who also plays Tekken, he which I think is interesting, but we have to start kind of planning time. And at first I think it was a little different for us, but I think it has also made us very strong, because since I'm not always able to come see him right away, we still have to make time to talk, to watch movies together, have those dialogues, or train online together. We still have to bond in those ways, even if I can't see him right away. But also because of me being so flexible with traveling, I can visit him way more than when I was back in college. It was kind of harder because he would always have to come to me because I was always kind of, I had to work, school, all that. But because I'm super flexible, I can always see him every month. There's never like a doubt like that I won't, because of this new world that's opened up to me and signing with Equinox. So pretty fortunate.
See, so that's really interesting. So you talked about being in college, and that sort of also flies in the face of the narrative that people have about gamers and pro gamers, is that they're just these kids who sit in front of their screens all the time and they're always angry, and they're always being, they're not that smart. And you went to college, and you have an education, and you understand the value of being able to manage your time. I think that right there is the core issue, is that you have to manage your time, and you have to carve out space in your day for the things that are important to you. So sort of talk to me about that learning process, because I'm sure that it was something that you had to figure out, right?
Oh yes, very much so. In college, I was an illustration major, and I had, I believe, 4 or 5 classes, and they were all studio art based, which means you have to spend 40 plus hours on each project, making sure it looked professional, like it would be sold right then and there.
Wow.
And it has to have been one of the, I was an art student for 3 years, and it has to have been one of the most stressful yet rewarding things in my life. But I had to learn, like, okay, on the weekend, Friday, I work on illustration class, since that was my major. I felt like that's the first thing you work on. Then Saturday, I work on maybe graphic design class. Like, I had to literally start plotting out time to do specific things. And there was never any time for me to just go out to the bar like other people were doing.
Right.
So there was never any time like that. But I had to also fit in fun time where if I'm working on something, maybe I turn on the television, so I had some background noise, or one of my favorite movies. But it definitely did teach me, excuse me, to multitask, because because you won't, and how to kind of produce quality work and have quality come out while working on 4 different things. So with something like Tekken and training for that, I allot time for different things. Like maybe one day I'm just watching videos of top players, or maybe another day I'm practicing maybe my combos, or maybe I'm practicing getting max damage. On the other days, I don't worry about it at all. I just work out. And then maybe another day I maybe just go out, spend time with friends, or maybe for a whole week I go to New York and see my boyfriend. I had to give that time, like, for each day, like different things I'm doing. Because at one point I definitely did break down, and I was like, I can't, like, this is way too much. Like, the breaking point is when you feel like it's way too much, and sometimes it's because you don't prioritize certain things, you don't schedule, you just do, and sometimes it's easier for people to see it on a calendar to kind of give you a little bit of order, gives you a little bit of ease, and that's what's really worked for me, honestly.
Okay, so let's sort of talk about the breakdown that you just brought up. What was that like? And so what was that like, and your relationship at the time? How was that sort of like a point of strength for you?
When I broke down in college?
Yes.
Well, I feel like when I had this breakdown, I think it was also at a time where my boyfriend was actually physically there with me.
Okay.
He was visiting me, and I was like, this is too much. And I got sick because I also, like, my immune system was terrible at the time, and having someone there for me and taking care of me and giving me soup and just, giving me affection and saying, hey, it's okay, He also talked me through just maybe working through different ways to schedule what to do each day. Like having somebody to springboard ideas off of to not go back to that place of, panicking and breaking down was super important. And I think it definitely strengthened our relationship even more at the time.
Wow, you're so. I have to say that you're extremely fortunate to have somebody in your life who is that for you. That he can be all those things for you, and that's that for a lot of people, especially gamers, because many people don't understand what you do. You're really fortunate to have somebody in your life who has has the perspective of being a gamer and is loving and is supportive, and so that's really awesome to hear. I am very happy for you that you have somebody like that, who's always around. Now, so you've finished college. You're on the I guess you're on the grind, like everybody says. You're getting better. Your stats. I mean, like I said, if you look at your Twitter profile, you can see that you were first in the E League in 2018. You're 17th at Evo. I mean, those are serious stats. It's not, you just don't show up one day to a community as large as the one you're in and you're just good. You have to put in the time. So now that you've finished college and you're signed with the org and you're doing all this traveling, how important now is having that relationship to you?
It's very important. The one between me and my boyfriend, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, it's so important because I feel like a lot of the time, I felt like what I sacrificed at one point was being social, and that also included being social with my boyfriend and and spending time with him. And because I travel so much now, it's different because I'm a public figure, and people come up to you and they're like, hey, yeah, can I get autographs? Can I talk to you and all this?
Right.
And they know you in a certain way like that. But to actually have that time to actually like spend time with the person that you love the most, and who knows you very well,
right.
It's a completely different thing. And so it's been working through that and really getting the time to really grow my relationship is
right.
It's been very different from being kind of social to being super social,
right.
but actually having to make time to be social in my own relationship. It's been a learning process.
I bet, and it's not the easiest thing in the world. I mean, you said it yourself. Now that you're more of a public figure, you're speaking and you're traveling and you're doing all this stuff, and people who know you in that way come up to you, autographs and selfies and that sort of thing. So it how does it feel to know that in those moments when you are just on tilt and your fingers aren't working the way that you want, or you think something's wrong on stream, and you just have this person who knows you so well and can speak your language, and you can be vulnerable in front of them, and you know that you're safe. So for someone like you, you're growing in popularity, you're on Twitch, you're on Caffeine, you have 8,000 followers on Twitter, you're extremely accomplished. What's it like to know that you have that safety net of somebody you can go to when you're just feeling horrible? You're like, everything sucks, I hate this job, I hate everybody, I hate myself. But that person takes you and holds you and tells you, everything's fine, I love you.
How does that feel? If I feel like if I didn't have that, I would probably have left the community a very long time ago. And because of him, certain things that I'm feeling, or when he's watching my tournaments, and I'll maybe after something happens that I didn't want to happen in the match, I know I can always message him and be like, I don't know what was going on, I don't know why I did that. He always reassures me. He's always like, hey, it's okay. You'll get him next time. We'll watch your videos. We'll study what happened. Or when I'm just feeling at my lowest, or I feel insecure, I always know I can come to him he always reassures me, always. that what maybe I need to hear that I'm gorgeous or I'm beautiful or that I'm smart or that I know what I'm doing, but he's always the person I know he'll give me what I need in that time,
Right.
whatever kind of reassurance it is. And as a player, sometimes I think it's just natural. Sometimes we're insecure. Maybe people say something, or some people doubt you, or they think that you're lacking in some way, or they don't recognize
Right.
how much you've done. But even if you know it, sometimes when people say things, you're like, oh wow, do people really think that about me? And to have someone like my boyfriend who always puts things into perspective for me, and
Right.
he's always the voice of reason. I'm a bit more like on the feeling side, like very emotional. He has emotions, but he knows how to place them. And for him, he always brings me back to reality. He's like, hey, you know what you've done. You know what you're made of. You've already accomplished so much, and you're still accomplishing things. He's like, there's no reason for you to doubt yourself. And he always reminds me time and time again. Anytime I doubt myself, he's always somebody that brings me back to reality. Always.
Wow. That is really, I can't, I know I said this earlier, but you are so fortunate to have somebody like that in your life. I'm very happy for you. I'm very happy that you have found, I mean, I'm sitting here listening to all this and looking at your accomplishments. I mean, you have a situation and you've created a career for yourself that a lot of people want. A lot of people look at what you've done and the things that you have, and you as a person, you're like, I want that. I totally want that in my life. So if somebody were to walk up to you and say, I want to be just like you, how do I do that?
What would I tell them? What
Yes.
would I tell them in? Well, to be successful as a esports player, you have to put in the work. Something I always remember was, you have to allow yourself to make mistakes and to realize that those mistakes don't make you less of a player. If anything, it should teach you what to do better for next time. Always understand that there's someone better than you, but that you can be better than them by training. Having a training partner has always helped me. I always believe people need training partners, somebody who will always keep you in check to be better. You're always challenging each other. Being very versatile when it comes to your social media, your Twitch, your Twitter, especially Twitter, because I wouldn't say Facebook much. Twitter, I think more so. Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, those three will be your best friends and really getting exposure in that way. But also, the results. Your tournament results are everything. Every time you are shown on that stream, maybe you reach the top 16. They stream all the top 16 usually.
Right.
You need to be like, once you reach those certain marks, like top 16, top 8, top 4, top 2, the more I think about it like this, the more stream time you get, the more times they put your games on stream, somebody's looking. So somebody's looking at what you're doing, who you're using, how you're reacting, what kind of player you are. It makes people interested. So that's how I think somebody can get like me or even better than me.
Right. Okay. So you've obviously cultivated a very resilient, resilient core to yourself, because like you said, you have to learn from mistakes, you have to bounce back, and you have to be better. And obviously along the way, I'm sure there were points you're like, this sucks, I hate this, I don't want to do this anymore. But then there's something in you that says, keep going, you're doing great. How did you cultivate that feeling of always moving forward and always getting back up and always going, I can do better, I can be better, I can beat that person. That person got me today, they got me last time, they got me 3 previous times, but I can beat them. I know how to do that. How do you, that's a hard road to be on. How did you cultivate that in yourself?
Well, there were many times where I felt like, because the community can be very harsh, male-dominated field. It's very, for a woman in it, sometimes it's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
and then sometimes for myself personally, I had to find myself, like I had to remind myself, remember why you're here. It's because you love this game. And I remember every time I sit down, I would remember all over again why I loved it so much. Anytime, like right when they would say fight, I always remembered it, because I knew I was always learning something as I was playing, that nobody could stop me actually from playing this game. And I learned that. And it's one of those things where, sometimes I realize you're gonna lose. It happens, but that doesn't mean that it will always be that way. Look at what you did wrong. Have other people that analyze videos watch with you. They'll see things that maybe you didn't. And for me personally, I always feel like it's more like I beat myself. So that's why I lose, because I'm like, I've seen like millions of situations in Tekken. I've seen them all. Like, I've been doing this a while, and sometimes I think the thing that beats me is I went too fast. Maybe I played a little too slow, but I never feel like that like anyone will ever just always beat me, because that's never the case. There's always, like, if I can look at what I did wrong, I'll remember that for next time, and I know I'll get them, which definitely has happened for me, but it's only because I saw my flaws and I tried to change them.
Wow. That statement that you said right there is that you really only beat yourself. That's like the third level of thinking when it comes to competition is, is that you realize when you hit a point in your ability, what's really only holding you back is yourself. I wish more people would have that as part of their makeup. That's an excellent thought process. So as we shut this down, is there anything that you want to promote? I'm sure that you have some appearances coming up here shortly, right?
Oh yes, I will be attending CEO in June 28th to the 30th.
Okay.
Tekken World Tour tournament is there, and it's going to be great. So I'll be there. I'll be at EVO, which I believe is it's August 2nd to the 4th.
Yep.
So I'll be attending those two events, and probably more to come. But those are the two very major tournaments that I will be attending. Awesome.
Thank you very much for making time for me today. These kind of interviews are the reason that I love doing this, is to hear people who have worked and put in the time and have come to the understanding that you have. Thank you very, very much for making time for me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoy speaking on these topics, because a lot of the time, I'm training, I'm playing, and I'm attending, but it's so nice to actually be able to reflect and talk to people about my experiences, because maybe this will help other aspiring players in the future too.
Exactly. Thank you very much for making time for me today. Everybody, check out in the description below. We'll put your Twitter account at Cuddle_Core on Twitter. We'll also put her website link in the description below, as well as the Twitch URL and the caffeine URL. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much, Cuddle Core, for making time for me today. I know that you're a busy person. I just watched you on stream a couple of hours ago as you were working out. So thanks very much for making time for me. Everybody, if you love this content and the other stuff that we do here at the Game Haus YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you soon.